Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you. There was recently an article that I saw on somewhere, I think it was a city in South America, that this one particular pothole finally got covered in when somebody planted a palm tree in it. And I just wasn't impressed. Because if you've ever been to New Orleans, especially the French Quarter, potholes are really common and they stick around until you can drop a car into them. There was one that I used to walk by on my way home every night that the city finally filled it in when somebody planted an entire garden in there with a sign saying, "This is our pothole garden. If you want it to go away, fill it in." I've also walked by a pothole not too far away from that somebody, it seemed, had been using as a barbecue. Like there were burning coals in it. Now, that particular night, because the coals were unattended, I poured my water bottle onto them in an attempt to put it out, just in case, because nobody wants the French Quarter burning down again. But one of my other favorite pothole stories is from very early on, when I was a baby tour guide, like my first month. I was standing on Conti Street waiting to meet some people for an event. And there was a strip of road that was just gone. Like, it was a pothole that was a good foot deep. It stretched across half of the road, more than half. I think it stretched across the majority of the road, and was a couple of feet wide, or long, like along the road. So this was a big pothole. And the problem was, it was also raining that night. So the pothole was full of water. So coming down the road, you couldn't really tell there was a pothole there. It just looked like a slick patch of road. And I know this because a couple of cars hit it going way too fast. But eventually I look up and I realize there's a motorcycle coming. And it was one of those, like, moments of, oh God, no. But there was no way I was going to stop him. I couldn't. And so this motorcycle hit this pothole, going full speed. And to put it bluntly, the motorcycle stopped. The guy did not. Now, he was fine. He did the thing where you sort of just walk over the end, but his bike did not look happy when it pulled it out of that pothole. But most of the time, potholes are dangerous. There was one along one of the routes for a while that was actually an old termite trap that was 4 feet deep. And I know exactly how deep it was, even though it was usually full of trash, because one night I was turning to my guests to warn them, hey, don't step in this pothole. And I stepped backwards into it because I'm good at life. But that was also the night that I learned that under duress, I can do the splits. Most of the time, though, it's your guests that fall in potholes. There was one lady that I remember specifically tripping over a construction barrier around a pothole that hit the ground so hard that I heard her hit. But by the time I had turned to check on her, she had already bounced right back up. It was one of those, like, she was bleeding, but there was no blood on the sidewalk because she got up too quickly. And, of course, I checked on her, and she insisted we continue the tour, even though she clearly needed to, like, at least go get some first aid. But she would not let me, like, get Band-Aids and stuff on her. She was just determined to keep going. And the last pothole story I'll have for you tonight is similar, but this one was not one of my guests. I was just walking back to my car after a tour one night when this very drunk man stumbles into it wasn't really a pothole, it was actually a spot where they were doing construction, but he goes face down into the rubble and gravel of the construction zone. And of course, like, I stopped to be like, oh my God, honey, are you okay? Do you need help? And this guy looked up at me with the, like, most hazed over look and was like, what? And I was like, you fell. And he's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, your face is bleeding. And God bless the boy, he said, no, your face is bleeding. At which point I was like, okay, well, you take care of yourself. I'm going home. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for listening.